All right. So, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Tad Bartles. I'm an optometrist, and I practiced in Bristol for over 40 years. During that time, I've seen a lot of children go through my practice, seen them as youngsters, seen them grow up, become very nice adults. And so you might say that I have had a very active interest in children's health and vision. Now, also, I was in practice when computers made their entry into our lives. And so I have also become quite interested in computer vision. Now, although I'm not in practice anymore today, I serve as a consultant for the Bristol Early Childhood Alliance. Okay, and while doing this, we have a lot of questions from parents and educators, healthcare professionals as to children and screen time. Is it good? Is it bad? Are devices dangerous for our children's eyes? And so today we're going to have a little talk about my feelings and how, as parents and caregivers, we can cope with all of this. So before we get really down into the adventures of computers, we have to kind of go over some basics. Okay, so we got to get the boring stuff out of the way before we get to the real good stuff. But we're going to give you a quick course on light and vision. It's what we call a Light and Vision 101. First of all, we're going to talk about light. Okay, light is energy coming from the sun, and it comes to us in waves. And there's all kinds of different waves that come to Earth from the sun. There are long waves, short waves, and in the middle, there's a section of these light waves that our eyes can actually see. So we call this visible light. Now, because of physics, we know that visible light can be separated into specific colors to go along with specific wavelengths. So reds and oranges and yellows have higher wavelengths. They don't have as much energy as the blues and violets, which are shorter in wavelength, but have much more energy. But that is visible light. Now, how do we see? Okay, light comes into the eye. It enters through the pupil, which is a hole in the iris, which is the colored part of the eye. So light comes in, it lands at the back of the eye on the retina, and the retina sends a message up to the brain where it's interpreted into vision. So now you're all knowledgeable eye doctors, and you know how all of this works. Now, normally, as the human being developed, we were active in the daytime, and as the sun went down, as in the sunset, we became less active. We're actually slept. Okay, but I want you to notice the color of the sunset. Okay, it's a yellow orange. It's soft. Okay, as mankind developed, we learned to harness light on our own. We started off with campfires. We graduated to higher technology of actual candles. And finally, we created the incandescent light bulb. But again, I want you to look at the colors. Okay, they're all oranges, yellows, reds, softer colors, not harsh blue. So as an eye doctor, there were two things we took care of in my practice. We treated eye disease, which we're not going to get into today, but we also provided what I call traditional vision care. And that consisted of me providing my patients with clear vision for both distance and near. So we need to see far away. For a child's application, needed to see the chalkboard and teacher. We needed to see the desktop. Okay, we also had to provide accommodation, which is a fancy word for meaning that what we're doing is changing our focus from far to near and back again. And finally, we needed to provide binocular vision. So we needed to use two eyes together to see in 3 dimensions for appropriate depth perception. And for the longest time, this is what traditional eye care was. So from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, up to the 70s, this is what we did. And we got pretty darn good at it. But then a disruptive event occurred. Okay, and this disruptive event was the advent of home computers. What happened was technology advanced to a point that computers became small enough, relatively, and cheap enough that we could have them in our homes. But the original computer monitors, they were made up of cathode ray tubes, which were similar to older televisions. So it was a big system. It was heavy, took up a lot of space. And when you brought your first home computer home, you were just so happy to have the thing there that you lugged this monitor in, you plopped it down on the first horizontal surface that you found, and that's where it stayed. When these home computers were developed, the people who invented them really did not ask eye care professionals or orthopedic people for any advice, and we were off to the races with them. And so what we were getting coming into the office were patients coming in with real vague complaints like, oh, my eyes are really sore, they're very tired, I'm getting headaches, we're getting muscle aches, I'm just uncomfortable. And people were saying to me that my vision is unstable, it's getting worse. And so these were problems that we were facing. And traditionally, with the eye care that we were providing, with the tools that we had, we were not doing a good job at solving these problems. And we muddled along until we realized that the human eye focuses on print quite differently than on pixels. Now, if you don't know what a pixel is a little dot on your computer screen, okay? Computer monitors and televisions are made up of lots of these, and it just kind of floats out there in your vision. And so when the human eye would focus on a screen of pixels, what would happen is it would lose focus very quickly. And the eye muscles would have to refocus and refocus and refocus. And sometimes this happened 20, 30,000 times a day. And that gets very tiring. And I can remember how excited I was when I got my first pixelated eye chart and we hooked it up and said, now we can take care of our patients. And then things got better again and we start to feel confident. Yeah, we can do this. And then disruptive event 2 number came along. Okay. And disruptive event number 2 was the light emitting diode. Now, this thing was great. Okay. It was small, it was colorful, it was bright, it was cheap, didn't use a lot of power, so it was economical, and it could be put into very small devices. And so what happened was, all of a sudden, our cathode ray tube monitors got replaced by flat panel screens. They could be made large. We got these great televisions of monster size, but it also developed e-readers, okay, and tablets and smartphones, and even virtual reality headsets. So this was fantastic, you know, great technology. But in the 2000s, a company in Europe called Essilor, the very large lens manufacturer, they did a study to see if visible light caused any problems in the eye. Because we had always told our patients visible light was great. Ultraviolet light was dangerous, but we knew how to block it out. Infrared was dangerous, but our atmosphere had a good handle on protecting us for that. But was visible light causing any problems? And what they discovered at Essilor was that high energy visible blue light in very low wavelengths, high energy, low wavelength, could cause problems in the back of the eye, was harmful to retinal pigment epithelial cells. And this set off an uproar because in our world of today, we're surrounded by blue light. The new bulbs that we put in our light fixtures at home, fluorescent tubes, overhead lighting, street lighting, okay? Cars now have LED headlights, and LEDs are so small that they can be sewn into clothing. We can put them in toys, shoes. So blue light, unfortunately, is everywhere. But the major source of blue light for us is our friend the sun. So what we know is blue light happens to be natural. And actually, we need it as human beings. Okay, first of all, it controls our circadian rhythm. So we know when we should sleep, when we should be awake. It also enhances cognitive performance. So it makes us think better. Okay, and finally, it's a downright mood enhancer. Okay, during the wintertime, I'm sure you all have heard of the condition called seasonal affective disorder. Okay, and that happens when people get depressed because there's not enough of sunlight. So we need blue light. And so what's the big deal about blue light? And the deal is overexposure. Okay? Now, what happens is ultraviolet light coming to our eyes gets blocked by different structures. Blue light penetrates through the front part of the eye and gets to the back of the eye, where it can activate certain chemicals in our blood, which causes them to replace oxygen at the cellular level. And that can be a bad thing because that causes cellular death. So you're going to see that I love graphs, but here is a graph of specific blue light. Okay, and at the low end of the spectrum, we have high energy visible light that can cause damage inside the eye. If you go up the spectrum a little bit, you have blue light that can cause glare and eye strain. And finally, higher up the spectrum, we have good blue light, our friend, okay, that helps us with our sleep-wake cycle. So what does this mean for your child? Okay, let's take a look at a typical child. Okay, first of all, look at her eyes, and you'll notice that she has very large pupils. Okay, children have very large pupils. Adults, as we get older, our pupils start to shrink. But large pupils mean a large hole in the eye, lots of light, lots of energy can get in. Secondly, kids are small. And so if they're going to hold something in their hands, such as a cell phone, then they're going to hold it relatively close to their eyes. And again, physics tells us that on a source of energy, the closer you are to it, the more radiation you can get from it. So you're having a big hole in the eye and you're getting a lot of radiation in because of close proximity. Then there's lack of blinking. Okay, human beings love to stare at computer monitors. Okay, if you're looking at a book, you're going to blink. Okay, but somehow the idea of looking at a computer monitor or a cell phone, you inhibit your blinking. And so that means that the tears on the surface of your eye evaporate, and that can cause discomfort and also blurred vision. And this is what I feel to be real important, is children do not have human lens pigment. And so you're going to say, well, what's the big deal with this? Okay, human lens pigment is a substance that is deposited in the human eye, in the lens. Okay, it does a great job on blocking out harmful blue light. Problem is, it does not get deposited in the human eye until we're about 18 to 20 years old. So little children holding devices close, big pupils, don't have any protection. Somebody like me, I got plenty of human lens pigment, thank you. Okay, and I'm not that concerned anymore. And finally, with kids, there's no control. Okay, no filters, we'll say. So if something is interesting, something is good, difficult, they're not going to pull themselves away. And so you have kids staring for a long time at these screens. Now, photos like this make eye doctors cringe, okay, because what you're seeing is very young children holding devices very, very close. Okay, and what we're seeing, thanks to this, is an increase in nearsightedness. Okay, we're seeing an increase in eye strain. We're seeing dry eye. Okay, and what's big about this is dry eye. We never saw dry eye in kids. Okay, dry eye was an old person's condition. And what we're seeing is, we're feeling is that there's going to be an increased risk of macular degeneration. It's a cumulative effect, so it adds up over time. And experts in the field are afraid that this generation of young kids, by the time they hit 50, is going to be facing age-related macular degeneration at an epidemic rate, whereas you don't see that now. And so we're gearing for the future. Now, pictures like this makes eye doctors happy, okay? Because what we're seeing is children playing with developmental toys, stacking blocks, things like that, okay? Or this young lady outside playing with bubbles, learning hand-eye coordination. This is great stuff. This is what we want. This is best play for visual development. And let's just talk about quickly kids developing, okay? In an infant, their vision extends out to about 10 inches, which is perfectly all they need because they need to see mom's face. As they get a little bit older, their visual world expands, and what we should be doing is offering them much more stimulation, such as a mobile or a crib toy that captures their interest and lets them explore. they get a little older, their muscle structure is developing. They can sit and they can play with more exotic toys. Eventually, what's going to happen, because vision drives development, the vision is going to be a little farther out. They're going to see something they really want, and they're going to figure out how to crawl, how to creep. And eventually, which is bad news for parents, they'll realize that there's a whole nother world above them, and they're going to figure out how to stand and get up there. And then finally, you'll see nice developed kids interacting with their peers out in the playground. This is what we want to see. And so a lot of times we'll be faced with the question of, well, how long should my children be on a device? Okay, and so experts feel that from birth to 2 years, there should be no device use, except maybe an occasional visual chat with grandma. Okay, from 2 to 5 years, 1 hour a day with supervised use from a parent or a sibling that you can trust. Okay, yeah, some of these kids, I don't know if you can trust them. And finally, when they're in school age, 2 hours a day of non-educational use, or we would call that recreation, play, plus all the schoolwork hours. And that seems to be good guidelines for device use. And so we need to set limits with your kids. Okay, we try to set social limits for social media and on the internet, but we also need to set limits for the usage of these devices just to protect their eyes. And so now we have some tips. Now, this particular slide, we've had this around for a long time, and you can find it on Making Bristol Better. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and read these to you because you can read as well as I can. But there are a couple of things, the ones that are highlighted in red, that I just do want to go over with. And first one is, I don't feel electronic media should ever be in the bedroom. Okay, because you never know what's going on. Okay, and kids and devices don't sleep very well together. And finally, the other one, read with your child every day. And bedtime's a pretty good time to do it. And so there we were. We had it. We figured out what to do with children and devices. And then disruptive event number 3 came down the road. And we all know that one. That's COVID. And so the world shut down. Workplaces closed. You worked from home. You met on Zoom. Okay, kids got sent home because schools got closed. And the educator said, well, we can't just let the kids sit there. So what are we going to do? So what they did was they sent every kid home with a Chromebook, and we had online classes. Okay, so remote learning. And that meant a lot of screen time. And so what we started to see after this, post-COVID, is increasing nearsightedness. Now, this becomes a problem. It's a problem for us eye doctors, but it's a problem for public health. We, as a country, are a little bit behind certain other countries, but in Asia, nearsightedness is an extreme health emergency where they say it's an epidemic. In some countries, you might be finding close to 98% of their young adults are nearsighted. Okay, so what happens when we say we're increasing our nearsightedness? Well, here's a picture of an eye. Okay, and notice it's relatively round. Now, as an eye becomes nearsighted, it becomes elongated. Okay, and the way vision is corrected with this elongated eye, lenses are placed in front of the eye to push the focus back because the eye is longer. And so if nearsightedness can be corrected with lenses, why are we making such a big deal of it? And why are we getting so worried? Well, first of all, we have high myopia, which is a fancy word for high nearsightedness. Okay, we use a cutoff point of -5. What I've learned in my practice is people who are very nearsighted, they know exactly what their prescription is. I think it's like bragging rights at parties. Okay, but you know, you hear people say, wow, I'm a -7. Okay, they know what that is. So high myopia is above, we'll say, -5 as far as lens power. But people who have high myopia are more susceptible to glaucoma. They are more susceptible to cataracts, macular degeneration, okay, or retinal detachment, because that eye is growing, it's pulling, and the retina can only stretch so much before something lets go. But there's also another aspect of being nearsighted that nobody ever talks about. And that's the social or emotional effects. Okay. When a child is young, 80% of their learning comes from vision. And if you have a child walking around who can't see very well, you're going to get delayed development, which is not going to be a good thing. Sometimes that can be overcome, sometimes it can't. Okay. Self-esteem is an issue. Okay. Because I don't think any child wants to go to school for that first time with glasses on. I know that in my early days of practice, if I would have to prescribe glasses for a third or fourth grader, it was like giving them the kiss of death. That was a devastating blow. They somehow overcame it, but it did do numbers on self-esteem issues. Okay. And finally, there's health and safety concerns. Okay. If you have something on your face like that, you're out on the playground and you get hit with a ball inadvertently. Okay. It can break the glasses. If the glasses just break, well, okay, we can replace that. But if the glasses break, penetrate the eye, then that's a much more serious problem. And finally, we have expense. Okay. A lot of this stuff isn't cheap. Okay. And it's estimated that being nearsighted probably costs the world's economy billions of dollars each year in just, trying to correct this. And so it's a big concern, especially now with some of the newer lenses that are being developed by lens companies to help control nearsightedness. These things are fantastic, but they are also very expensive. So now we've got to live with the devices. We can't say, let's get rid of them all, okay, because they're here to stay. And saying, let's get rid of devices, that's a losing battle. We're not going to fight that. So what are we going to do? We can protect eyes, both kids and adults, with computer glasses of special prescriptions and with computer coatings to block out some of this harsh light. Okay, as parents and caregivers, we can watch for signs of discomfort, irritability, and sleeplessness. I used to notice that my kids, if they spent too much time on the computers, they got nasty. And it was time to curtail the computer adventures. And we should be practicing the 20-20-22 rule. Now, at one time, we used to talk about the 20-20-20 rule, and you're saying, what the heck is this? Okay, but the 20-20-20 rule was for every 20 minutes that you stared at a device, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And what that did was that caused the eye muscles inside the eye to relax, and we felt it was a good preventive step against myopia. Okay, and then we came up with the 2 to add on to the end of it because we had to make things more complicated. But what the 2 means is that we should be sending our kids outside to play for 2 hours a day at a minimum. Okay, and there's enough of studies at the academic level to say that outside play is one of the best preventions for nearsightedness. And then there are apps and controls on devices to set lighting, distance, and time limits. And you need to learn to use these things. And most importantly, talk to your kids about this. Okay. Work as a partnership, set limits. And the reason for that, okay, to have these guidelines. And so from my point of view, I'm an optometrist. I care about vision. So I've spoken about vision and some of the things we're afraid of. But from a parental point of view, okay, talking to parents, people have told me, well, I'm most concerned with where my kids are going on the internet and what they're dealing with social media. I don't have time to worry about their vision. But yes, you do. Okay, because it's our goal to keep kids as healthy as we can. And also, I think part of our goal should be to keep kids, if they're going to get nearsighted, to keep them in the low range of prescription so we don't have a lot of other problems happening. So we need rules of common sense. Okay, first of all, good posture. Okay, you're going to sit and hold the device. You don't lie down and hold it up. Okay, you sit in a chair, hold it at like you would hold a book. You need time limits. Okay, you can't be on it 24/7. Okay, that's just not healthy. and the 20-20-22 rule. Okay, and please remember this, because I think this is real important. Kids and devices don't sleep well together. And so what 3 things can you do today? Okay, number 1, send your child outside to play. That's the best thing you can do. Secondly, keep all the devices out of the bedroom, especially at bedtime. And schedule a comprehensive eye examination every year. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. Okay, right now I understand in the school systems, kids are going through vision screenings done either by the school nurse, nurse's aide, or the Lions Club. Okay, these are screenings. And I've had parents come up to me and say, wow, my kid gets examined at school. I don't need you. Okay, this is not a commercial for me because I don't see patients anymore. But, okay, screenings are screenings. They are great. They serve their purpose. Okay, and screenings will detect if one eye of your child is not working as well as the other eye, or it will detect if eyes are not seeing as clearly as what they could. But in a comprehensive eye exam, first of all, we're assessing the general health of the eye, both inside and out. Secondly, we are coming up with a prescription to get the eye to see as good as we can, both at distance and at close. Okay, and also we are assessing whether this child is using both eyes together. Okay, so they are seeing in 3D, and that is very important. So that's what I have. That's how we are coping with devices and children as of today. What I would like to do at this time is thank the Bristol Early Childhood Alliance for allowing me to give this. If we have any questions, we can ask them in the chat, or my email is there. If you have anything, you send it out to me. I definitely will get back to you. And now we're going to stop sharing, we hope, and turn it back to Donna.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bartles. I always learn so much when you present. So can you just remind us again? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening and paying attention. Well, remind us again of the 20-20-20 rule at 2. I know if you for every 20 minutes you're looking at a screen, look up.
Yep, focus at something 20 feet away.
20 feet away. Yep.
For 20 seconds.
Got it. Okay.
And run
go
outside and play for 2 hours.
Yep, got that one. Okay. For 20 seconds. All right, thank you. And then my other question, and then I'll open it up for others. I see some comments in the chat. Thank you, and thank you so much for the wealth of information. What about school? So kids are still getting using devices at school. I was at an elementary school 2 years ago, and kindergartners, everyone came in with their device to the library, and they use it. I mean, they take it home for homework too, but they use it in the school for different lessons and activities. So kids are on a device throughout the school day in addition to the recommendations for at home. So if they're using it, say 3 or 4 hours during the school day, do you still say it's okay to use it for 1 or 2 hours at home?
That becomes a very gray area that we are entering. Okay, and one of the things that, kids are on it constantly. And I think the best thing we can say is, as far as school goes, we have to defer to the education system. Okay, because we can't buck heads with them. And I still think that we have to allow some recreational time with the devices. Otherwise, we're going to get rebellion. Okay, we have to pick our values. But then again, this is why we need comprehensive eye exams done on kids, so we can pick up any problems and try to correct this. Because it's easier at a younger age, when there's a little bit of nearsightedness, to work our wonders and try and correct it, than wait till somebody is way out there and then have to worry about the future.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I would like to definitely open up to other questions from everyone, but I'm going to drop a survey into the chat. It should only take you all just a couple minutes to fill out, but for participants, we'd like to get your feedback. So I just dropped it in the chat. If you could click on that link, but I don't know if Kelly or Jasenia or Donna, if you have any questions. And I don't know if Dr. Bartles mentioned earlier, but his wife is also in the background running the
Yes, I
PowerPoint, but
probably
she might
should say
have
that
something to add.
she is my media expert. Okay,
Yes.
and for a lot of my years in practice, she was my office manager. She was the best technician we ever had in the office, and she is an expert when it comes to design and programs. So yes, we should thank her, thank Sherry, because she drives me on this.
Yes, Sherry made you look really good tonight. But any questions from anyone out there, or if Sherry, if you wanted to add anything?
No, Sherry says she's good.
Okay. Kelly, Jasenia, Donna?
No, just a comment. It was outstanding as usual. So thank you for all the information.
Oh, you're so kind.
No questions, but thank you so much for your time. I have a toddler here and I'm always looking for advice, in terms of her development and growth and, being mindful of the screen time as well. So I appreciate all of your knowledge.
Thank you for joining us, Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah.
No problem.
All right, and no questions from Jasenia. I mean, I do. I have to say, I always learn something. So you've taught us a lot tonight. And we will be sharing this widely. Well, we'll be sharing it on through our social media outlets. And I certainly hope that a lot more people will watch because it's a lot of great information. And
Yesenia, I like that comment. Yeah.
yeah, agree. A very interesting topic to be shared with school officials. Agree.
Well, then you all have your assignments.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I can stop, at least I'll stop recording now because then stop recording.